All right, everyone. Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world watching this. Welcome back to the Football Fan Zone podcast, the main podcast. We here. They say better late than never, so we're here. A little late, later than usual. As you can see, we are missing our esteemed co-host or main host. Pius is feeling under the weather this week. He's not running from anything because his team is actually doing well. So for once, he's actually using his sick days for what they are meant for. Of course, Pius get well soon. But there's lots and lots to talk about. So welcome. Thanks for joining us again. And hopefully, we're about to have a fantastic show. Now, of course, I know everyone's expecting, yeah, Uzo got cooked on Twitter. We were going to start with like, come on, let's be real. We're having what looks like another very interesting title race. We've got three teams at the top who two of them are undefeated. One of them has almost a perfect record in Liverpool and only has the one loss going into the second international break of the season, top of the league. So first, fortunately for all the Cook artists out there, lower your pots. We're gonna start at the top of the league and work our way down. I figured since Spice is not here, let's start with Liverpool first. Let's get that out of the way because we know Chooks will have a lot to speak on when it comes to Arsenal. And as the fake city representative on this podcast, I'm gonna have some things to say about City and where I think they stand. But I'm gonna come to you first, Adams. Who do you think has been the most impressive team out of the top three so far, in terms of the way the season has unfolded, and specifically on Liverpool? Do you think that they are ready to sustain this challenge? What are the differences that you see between this Liverpool side that are at the top of the table at this stage of the season and the Liverpool side that was at the top of the table at this stage of last season? Also, we know that they have a lot of difficult fixtures coming up against some of the top half of the table, as well as some Champions League fixtures. Do you think they are ready for these fixtures? What do you think we're going to learn about the team during these fixtures? What is just kind of your vibe there? But first, who's been the most impressive so far? City, Arsenal, Liverpool.
I haven't hidden my admiration for Arsenal since the season started. Like they've been ticking the right boxes for me. Like I said, the way they tweaked things and how solid defensively they've been, especially with the injuries. Uh, you know, I couldn't but notice, and I've been impressed. Right, I've been impressed. They lost some players, especially through that stretch, that run of games, right, where they had to play Spurs. I think they played City. They had a Champions League fixture in between somewhere, and to lose Odegaard, I think they also lost Rice and they lost their new signing as well. I think they lost one of their defenders, Calafiori, and yeah, I think they lost Calafiori too. So it was a difficult stretch, and I felt like they did well. And they're just adding little bits to their play, like little bits to what we already know about them. I'm not concerned about Arsenal scoring goals. I know Arsenal always score. They always find a way to score goals. They'll be fine, right? They had that stretch last season too where they went, I think, 3 or 4 games without scoring, and people were concerned, but eventually they were fine. So I think they'll be fine with their goal scoring. The Saka is incredible. He scores goals. Odegaard is still yet to come back this season, and when he gets back, you add to that mix. Um, Havertz, Havertz is this one funny player, man. I don't even know where to class him. Is he good or not, right? But so far, it feels like he's been keeping the haters' mouth shut. He's been scoring goals. A couple impressive performance from him in the big games too. So yeah, I think Arsenal is all right. Yeah, the big question is just City, right? It's just City. Arsenal will always be Arsenal. They always do their thing. They've added a lot to their play this season. For me, I just feel like this season they have to win something. Not necessarily the league. If Arsenal finishes second and they win, I remember that season where Liverpool lost everything on the final day. They lost. They lost the league and the Champions League, but they won the FA Cup and the Carling Cup. I think they won both of them against Chelsea. Remember that season? It wasn't that bad of a season, right? Because they won the FA Cup and they won the Carling Cup and they lost out in Champions League final day. the Premier League final day. So it wasn't that bad of a season, right? So I feel like Arsenal, even if they don't win the league, they need to win those cups, those cup competition. They need to start focusing on those cup competitions and win something because City is not looking like they're slowing down. But I don't see much that Arsenal has to do. That's the first question, right?
Right. And you've kind of given your breakdown on Arsenal. But where do you stand on Liverpool then? I get that you're saying Arsenal have been the more impressive team so far. Do you feel like Liverpool are a worthy challenger? Like where do you stand with them?
Like they've not really fully convinced me yet, right? I didn't expect them to be this good early on, especially because of the new coach. But we must give them credit, right? He's done well since he got here. I liked that he slowed it down a little. He still has the same templates, but he's just tweaking things little by little. But I'm not fully sold. What impressed me was after their loss against Nottingham Forest to bounce back immediately. It was surprising. I thought it was going to take them time to get back, especially they had that game away at San Siro to AC Milan. And at that point, Pulisic was looking like he was in red hot form. I know Rafael Leao was kind of hot and cold, but I didn't expect them to win that game the way they did. And I saw that game and they totally dominated that game. I was like, okay, I think Liverpool might be serious. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be similar to last season. They'll be there, like they'll be almost there. They'll be, putting pressure on the top two, but I don't think they just have enough to sustain a title charge.
And so they've got I don't have their fixtures coming up, but I know it's pretty brutal. I know it starts obviously with welcoming Chelsea at Anfield. Um, and while I pull it up over here, what do you make of like, because the argument with Liverpool now would be we haven't really seen them against kind of some of the top sides. I think the best team they've played so far has been United and like you said, away to Milan. But I mean, seeing Milan's subsequent fixtures, I don't think Milan are
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
the best test right now.
Mhm.
So what do you think? So they've got Chelsea, Leipzig, Arsenal, Brighton twice actually in the Carabao and in the league. Then they've got Leverkusen, Villa, Southampton, and then Madrid. Man
Oh wow.
City, Newcastle. This is
Oh my
literally their
gosh.
fixtures in order. So
That is crazy.
so it
Nah.
goes. So is Chelsea at Anfield, away to Leipzig, away to Arsenal, so at the Emirates, away to Brighton in the Carabao, then hosting Brighton at Anfield, hosting Leverkusen at Anfield, hosting Villa at Anfield, away to Southampton, then hosting Real Madrid at Anfield, hosting Man City at Anfield, and then away to Newcastle.
No, that's a crazy fixture list. I think it's the cliche thing to say, right? The next game is the most important one against
Of
Chelsea.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
But I really do think so. I think, that Chelsea game would determine how the rest of the fixtures will go. Chelsea obviously are high flying right now. They're in good form. If they can like have a good result against Chelsea and have a convincing performance, I think that would take them through the rest of the fixtures. Arsenal, it'll be a close game, especially if they, get something from Chelsea. Going to the Emirates, it'll be a close game. If they lose that game, I don't think is really that bad. Obviously, for rivalry and for fans online, they won't want to lose that game. But if the games that I feel like it's okay for them to lose is Arsenal and Madrid. Right, the rest of the games, I feel like they should be getting 3 points from those games.
Including City.
Ooh, I didn't even know City was there. Okay,
They're
yeah.
they're welcoming City at Anfield at the start of December, and this is right after Madrid in the midweek.
Okay, I take that back then. I think it's Madrid and City. That's the only game that they can lose.
So Madrid and City are actually both going to be at Anfield as well. So, and I mean, we
Yeah.
we are looking way ahead. In all of these games, we don't know if Allison's going to be back. We know he's definitely missing the Arsenal game. So Liverpool are weird right now. To bring Chooks into this, right, as the only, well, maybe not the only. We're going to get into that later, but one of the only title contender representatives on the panel. Chooks, what do you have a soft spot for Liverpool because your dad is a Liverpool supporter, of course. So you have more in-depth look at what they're building over there. What do you make of this fixture list? What do you think we can learn from Liverpool? Do you consider them to be title challengers this season? And what are your kind of expectations for them going forward?
I mean, from the predictions, I've always thought they'll be in there I think the fans should be happy, embrace it. Like this is the time to know what the manager is about. And they've done what people think is the easy part is winning games you're supposed to win, which most times you would think that's the easiest thing to do in the league. But yeah, I feel like if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm in perfect position because I've won all the games I'm supposed to win. And now it's just like what Adams was saying with Arsenal. We had a nasty start of the season with the fixtures we got. We went to Villa Park, Etihad, and White Hart Lane within the first 5 games. Liverpool is
Mhm.
about to. The one good thing they have is a lot of those games are going to be at home. So now is the time for them to build some separation from. If the goal for them is top four, there's nothing better than building separation early. Because if you start having a draw here, a loss here, a draw here, then you give Chelsea, Villa, Tottenham that you don't give them that distance, and then it starts the games now start having more pressure. But I think they are contenders. We've all seen what Salah has been doing. We see that defense, see Arnold. I always thought top four was a little bit too like you're kind of being too safe because you have Slot inherits a dead team.
Right.
I mean, if you look at it, they didn't sign anybody this this summer, and they look so good. Like it's one of those teams that if they catch you on their days, it'll be long. But at the same time, when you watch them play, man, like I saw the Palace game. That midfield was not looking too good. The I mean, I like Konate and Van Dijk, but sometimes Konate can be a little bit too aggressive when you play teams like Chelsea now next that have 1v1 players, how are they going to deal with that? So I understand when the fans are like, yeah, we're going to temper our expectations because the last few games, even Slot said it, the wins were not convincing. But at the same time, if you are winning games, you are winning games. Whenever people talk about all this whole they won the game, but it wasn't a convincing result. Man, who cares? If you get 3 points, you get 3 points. But I understand the two sides of the coin. As an Arsenal fan, I need them to stay in the race because I feel more comfortable going up against Liverpool than Man City. So I want them to do well. I want them to keep the two other teams honest because I've been in a two-horse race twice and I've lost. So maybe.
Twice? What do you mean
Yeah,
twice?
twice. Yeah, we made a two-horse race twice.
The second one wasn't really a two-horse race.
I mean,
Liverpool
those
was
those guys died in like March. We needed them to be alive to April. They died fairly early.
that's the, Uzo, I think the real question is what's really a title contender then? I
If,
what,
if,
Yeah,
what
yeah, no,
I mean,
I'd say last season was a 3 horse race. Because
I
because
mean,
because Chooks, by that same logic, right? Arsenal lost the league in the first season, your first contention season, with like 4 or 5 games to spare.
yeah, I mean, we
You
lost
know what
in
I mean?
April.
But that was also a 2 horse race. We're not gonna say like, oh, because like it didn't go until the final day, like it wasn't because Liverpool were still a couple bad results away from being back in the mix. Like a couple bad results for
To be honest,
City
I,
or
I I
Arsenal.
just feel like it's how they got out. I mean, yeah, maybe 2 horse, 3 horse, but I just need them to be competitive.
Because even with what you're saying, right, Jukes, like I think Liverpool were a huge reason why Arsenal got back into the race last
Yeah,
season.
because they
If they weren't up there, and if that game at the Emirates didn't carry so much emotion and meaning, you
yeah
don't go on that run after the game. You know what I mean? So
yeah we need that. We need everybody. I like the state of the league right now. Like I
same.
need all these games to mean something.
yeah.
Like that Chelsea Liverpool game now is that game has so much implication. Like everybody's going to be tuned in. That's
Yeah,
what we
it's
need.
it's 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 not like oh, Chelsea just need to go there and survive.
Yeah,
Chelsea's gonna
exactly.
test
Like
it
Chelsea
until
need
they
to
feel
win that
like,
game
well,
too.
if we win this game, we can be in the conversation. I prefer that to like, oh, let's just go play spoiler or let's just
Yeah,
go
exactly. Like you're
give it
playing
Yeah,
our
happy
give it
yeah,
our
feet.
best
yeah.
shot. It's
All
like, no,
day, all day. Like,
back
yeah, it
yourself
has
to
to
do
mean something.
something
Yeah.
here. Yeah. But so back to the original question as well, Chooks. Who do you think has been the most impressive so far? Between, of course, like you being an Arsenal fan, you're gonna back your boys, but besides Arsenal, who do you think has been more impressive?
I mean, firstly, it has to be us. Cause one, I feel like we had such nasty, nasty fixtures lined up. We've also been on the end of some horrible refereeing decisions. How we've not lost a game is beyond me. So I think it's Arsenal starting off the
Invincible?
season. if I'm not saying Arsenal, I think it's Chelsea. My dark horses. They've been very
Well,
impressive.
Chooks, out of the 3 title
Title
contests,
No, no,
contender.
no. Let
not
me
every day.
let me
We're
let
gonna
me.
get to the Chelsea segment. But
I
you
don't
can
want to wait.
Chooks, you can oil your knees. You can put your knee
I
pads
don't
on
want
the
to
floor and
wait.
get ready for the bucket session. For now, can we focus on that?
As
See,
I was saying
look at his
before I
lips.
was
He's so ready to praise.
as I was saying before I
No,
was really
I don't like
interrupted.
this version of Chooks, man.
As I was saying before I was really interrupted. I mean, because Liverpool is there. I don't like my Man City. I have nothing good to say. I really hope those guys get eliminated from the league in December. Just me.
To be
But
fair, I mean, if you're saying Arsenal have been the most impressive, I think we can back that. We can say
yeah,
that.
because two red cards. We've played two games with 10 men. I think we've only played 3 games or 2 games this season at the Emirates. So we've been away from our home more than we've been at home. I think the next few run of games are all going to be at the Emirates. So that's much needed. But the big thing is we went to we've crossed out Villa Park, the Etihad, and White Hart Lane, and
You had Atalanta away and PSG
yeah,
in
we
that
went to
midfield.
Atlanta away. We played PSG. We got 7 out of 9 from those big. Those are the. I remember when I saw the schedule, man, I was like, and what even annoying me is I honestly feel like Villa might be out of that top 4 race. The injuries are piling up, and their schedule isn't getting any easier.
They
So
look very poor against United. To be
yeah, they
fair,
look
very
too
poor.
poor, and it comes from there's no they don't have quality in their depth. Onana went out, and that midfield, Ericsson was Ericsson was moving man in that midfield, man.
On a
So
yellow card as well.
on the yellow card, I was like, what?
I was
So
I
yeah,
was kind of
just
impressed. I'll be honest. Like he showed his veteran savvy. Like
man,
some of the non tackles, he was that if you
nah,
want to watch a
yeah,
performance, how to play on a yellow card,
bro, he
that was pretty good.
he did so well. But I think it's Arsenal, Liverpool, then City if I'm ranking it, because City haven't looked good, and I don't know what that's down to. I don't want to jinx it because I know how Pep is. This is what he does all the time. He doesn't look good, and next thing you know, he's going to win every single game from October to May. But they genuinely, I mean, they are winning games, but they just look there for the taking. Like the game at the Etihad, I feel like if we don't get that red card, we win that game. Like they don't look as threatening. And I don't know if that's because my team has gotten to the point where we can compete with Man City, but I'm not scared of them. And I think some teams in the league are showing that, like the Newcastle game, man, those guys went there and played ball. Like they didn't do the whole let's try and match City in terms of what Ipswich did, where they are playing out no, just go there, they defend and they play their game. You respect the opponent and you try to win. Try to catch them on counters, try to frustrate them. Fulham almost did it. If Traore had like what 3 chances, the guy could not score one. So I don't know. City very very shaky. Plus the whole court thing. But I'm not gonna say they're out of the race because you know them. You talk too much now. Those
You
guys, those
shouldn't
guys,
even think it. You shouldn't even
those
think it.
guys.
Let alone say it.
But yeah, I'm for sure backing my boys. We've had a nasty start to the season. Those red cards, because if you really think about it, the Brighton game was a guaranteed win, and it still pisses me off till now. That red card just spoiled the whole thing. Then the City game, considering what 98 minutes, we could easily have won every single game up until this point. Because I know we're going to drop points eventually, but it's like I've not seen a game where we actually deserved to drop any points yet, at least at this stage of the season.
So what do you make of, since we're on the Arsenal segment now? Let's get into the game. So what do you make of the Southampton game? It's meant to be a straightforward win. I mean, I know they're sort of your bogey team in a sense, which is really weird because Southampton is the one team in the league that every time you play them, because they're in the league once every 4 years, every time you play them is a different regime, different ownership, different coach, different players. But somehow they're constantly on Arsenal's. It's like they can get all white players next week and they'll
That's
give you trouble.
that's
And the next week they show up with all black players and they still giving Arsenal trouble. I don't. It's the most
that's
strange
that's
phenomenon. But
how
what do you
Forest
think
is to
of
Chelsea.
Right.
So things you can't explain. Man, so okay. I'll be objective. That first half is,
Poor.
I mean, it was poor, but there were chances. Sterling and Jesus don't take their chance. And I don't think Sterling played bad. Jesus has to look at himself in the mirror and decide like one thing I hate with players like that, and we've all played ball, we know people like that, that when they don't score, they want like they want to score so bad that they start to play bad. Like every time he was in a chance to at least create for someone, he's looking to try and shoot and he's holding on to the ball. The first half was poor because we didn't take our chances. But the same thing, I've Uzo never agreed with it. Maybe Adam is beginning to see it. Kai Havertz is at 9. Once they made changes, what happened? Go. Once Havertz went to the 9, and we literally in our group chat, I was saying it. Trossard, Moreno, just bring them. Trossard, Martinelli, and Mikel Moreno, bring them on. What happened? We started scoring goals, and that's what I don't know what Mikel is going to do with Jesus. I wouldn't give up on him yet, but he needs to he needs to know he can affect the game without scoring. And even when you get into a chance to to score, try and be as direct as possible. Because if him and Sterling score 1 or 2 goals, the first half, I think I don't know if people saw the stats in the first half. Palace had just one shot in the first half, I think to our 9 or 10. So it
Southampton.
was it was dominance, but it wasn't like pretty dominance. Like our shots, we didn't have any shot on target, but we were shooting the ball. Either deflection, or was getting, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, we were dominating the nice way. It was so ugly. But as soon as we made those changes, what happened? We saw Starboy, best winger in the league, started cooking. I even forgot about Odegaard for a second. But that first half, brother, ice those ankles, man. If I'm gonna have to see Jesus and Sterling share pitch together, we need Odegaard back. There was no creativity. And to be honest, I don't know why that is. Like once we switched from Havertz in the midfield to striker, Saka just turned into something else. And I'm like, man, the boy just looked different. Mind you, he was playing with Partey at right back because Timber and Ben White are injured. So Partey at right back too was just horrible. Like the whole first half was just horrible. And the manager too just play what works, bro. Especially when you go to places like Southampton, where I mean, we saw what Chelsea did with Brighton. We need these start part games. New debates are coming up. I need my boy to keep up. 2 goals or 1 goal, 2 assists is not enough. Saka would have easily had 5 assists, two from that first half, from those two twins, Sterling and Jesus. But yeah, again, as everyone has seen this season, it hasn't been pretty. Our games have just been so, I don't know if I'll call it anti-Arsenal because of Wenger. But if this is what it's going to take to win trophies, I'm all for it. If we're going to have to be hunting for corners, every corner we get, I celebrate. Every set piece we get, I celebrate it. If that's what football is in 2024 for me, I have no problems. I have no problems. If that's what's going to win us the league or Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao, anything, I mean we've seen how certain guys like George were celebrating FA Cup for 2 months. I need something. If this is the way to win it, I'm all for it. And it also shows the manager too is learning how to adapt without his. I think Odegaard is the most important player in our system, or at least in our old system. So I think now he's beginning. He's learned a new way. It's not attractive to the eye, but the guy has found a fresh way to get the best out of the players he has. I look at someone like Havertz. That goal, maybe last year he doesn't shoot that from there. The guy just looks so revived. Again, thank you, Adams. Say you saved me from Gabi from Gabi Jesus. But I don't know. I guess like when you guys watch the game, what would you do with someone like Gabriel Jesus? Because I don't think he's finished. But I don't know what his problem is. And you know how it is on Twitter now on the bench cam, right? The Leicester City game, he didn't celebrate the winner. On the bench cam again, the Southampton game, he didn't celebrate any of the goals that were scored. Like he just sat there, kind of stoic. So I don't know if it's like they need to give him the same Havertz treatment where if we get a penalty, they bring in the sub him on and the guy scores and we start clapping. I don't know. He's just one of those players that I feel like at some point in the season we're going to need him. So we shouldn't kill off his confidence because I don't think he's like a Bernard Johnson that you flog the guy and the guy starts to perform. They've been flogging him since last year. Havertz has passed his goal tally for Arsenal, and Havertz arrived 1 year after him. That, like stuff like that just makes you think like how is that possible? Like we brought you in, gave you number 9, and someone that plays midfield haven't started that same game with you in the midfield, damn near almost a DM, and managed to score a goal in that same game. I don't know. That's what is just worrying me because our next run of games are not the most difficult. I think we play the hardest game we have in October is Liverpool, and then I think we meet Chelsea sometime in November. But we have, the Bournemouths, some of those Fulhams, those games that you're not really too worried per se. But a game like Liverpool coming up, I need I need guys to wake up, man. Jesus is not awake. Sterling, Adams, I don't know what you guys give us.
You guys can fix him too.
I don't know what you guys give us. Sterling needs to wake up. Martinelli
Nah,
looks like,
I need him to wake up too, man. So you guys can sign him
hey
permanently.
man, maybe we can swap for Mudrik January.
Nah. That ain't happening, man.
Who said you guys back? But also, you see my boy Martinelli. What did I tell you about that left hand side? I won't speak. That's why I'm going to end it. Calafiori, Mireno, Nelly. They said Martinelli is top 5 when he has a boyfriend. Every time he scores, he goes to hug Calafiori. We need that. We need all of them healthy.
All I've said is I don't know what left, right, or middle side dynamic has to do with putting away easy chances, but it's nice to see that Nelly's finally just converting the chances that he's always been getting anyway. And the funny thing is, some of the goals he's even scored, or some of the assists that he's created, he's been in those positions during this bad run that he's been on. He's been in those positions a lot.
You know,
And if the idea is, oh, he's inspired because he has better players behind him, to me that doesn't make any sense either. Like he's finding himself in those same. I think it's more of just a case that like form is temporary, class is permanent, right? So he can't be that bad for that long. He was on a run of 17 games with no production. At some point, your luck is going to turn, especially when you're someone like Martinelli, who's so direct. He's so direct. He's so involved. He's gonna try things. Like even just by sheer luck, and it hasn't been luck. He's turned it around, of course. But even if it's just by sheer luck, you're gonna get something to turn your way. It's like with Bruno Fernandes. I don't expect him to continue this run of what is he on, like 30 shots, no goals. At some point, just logically speaking, from just spamming so much, he's going to get something to turn his way. But of course, yeah, Nelly's been better. For me, the thing that I wrote down about Arsenal in the agenda that I shared with you boys was how long can Arsenal go with this level of production? And Adams, I know you said you're not worried about their goal production. Chooks is saying that if this is what it takes to win, then he's all for it. For me, maybe it's my hater eyes, maybe it's my desire to see Arsenal not be at the top of football. I think there's an identity crisis that's going on at Arsenal. And I think it's very quiet and unspoken because they're doing so well. But I think that it's weird because they've had kind of a perfect mix of misfortune where you've had all your injuries and all your suspensions and all your difficult fixtures all around the same time. So you've kind of had the opportunity to go into game after game after game with sort of an underdog mentality, which they haven't had in 2 years. So you're going with this underdog mentality. You have all this kind of free space. Players have been able to kind of get back into their groove, finding open lanes for attacking, and they haven't had to do that whole show up to the game. The team camps out for 90 minutes, and you have to find a way to break them down, game in, game out. So it's weird. It's like it's been misfortune in terms of the injuries and being unlucky with suspensions, but also you find yourself in a position where, okay, you can get to play the underdog a little bit. You can get to be a little free. But for me, I'm seeing kind of the bigger picture of when you have the full complement of players back, when you have all of the tools in your toolbox and all of the mechanisms that you can deploy. Who are Arsenal really, right? We've seen a trend of the team kind of evolving, right, within itself. It started with the top 4 push 2.5 years ago. Then we saw title challenges back to back, which looked very different in the way that they were applied. The first season was kind of free flowing, pinning teams back, pressing high, creating a lot of chances, having these two awesome center backs who would just clean up everything. And then the second year was more of a controlled, methodical approach, the boa constrictor, pushing teams back into their own half, relying on set pieces, out physically teams. And then now we've come into this season, and it feels like they've almost kind of reverted to pre-top four Arsenal, where they're playing with sort of a weird defense first mentality. Like the board constricted from last season was, okay, we're going to constrict you to your own half, and we're going to then dictate the pace of the game, and we're going to kill you with set pieces. This season, and you can look at their average line height, you can look at all of the underlying metrics. They're getting pegged back into their own half more than we've seen in the last 2 years. They're willing to concede possession more than we've seen in the last 2 years. They're overly reliant to me on transitions and set pieces more than we've seen in the last 2 years. And I'm saying, I don't know if it's a consequence of the injuries, the suspensions, and the difficult fixtures, but I want to see who Arsenal really are, because I think right now there's a sort of identity crisis. And I don't know if I'm right. I might be wrong, but I think we'll see come October, come December and January, when they have all of their players back and they're having some of the more easier fixtures, and we'll be able to really see, okay, who is this team really? You know, that's just where I'm at with it.
It's mostly our captain getting injured. Like
But
that's
this was pre-Odegaard for me. This was pre-Odegaard.
the Wolves game. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but at the same time, there wasn't enough sample.
I agree. There hasn't been enough sample
to
size.
tell. But one thing
Yeah.
I will say is, I also think it was premeditated, because the signings he's made are kind of showing how strong defensively the manager wants to be. And he's okay now with giving teams possession of the ball. And we're not working as hard as we used to work, because it's like, yeah, we can give you the ball, but you're not going to do anything with it. Like, we don't need to limit you to your own half. You can come out and play the ball you want to play, and we're just going to find ways to to hurt you. And I think he's also having this weird luck, and that's one thing he's had every time since he's been here. Some injuries, right? Like the Odegaard injury, I don't want the guy to be injured, but at the same time, I feel like that injury is somewhat of a blessing in disguise, because it has forced him to find another way to win games. And I feel like the way he's playing right now is because of that Munich game at the Allianz. How dead we looked when we went there. Like we just couldn't get a grip of that game. Atlanta, I don't know if you guys watched that game, but it was probably one of the best performances we've had defensively. I think Lookman was even saying it too. He felt like it was a chess game. And the manager is trying to cover every base that he has, because I don't know what our identity is. I don't even think we have one. I think he also said it best is, when it's raining, will you wear your slippers out? No. Like, you have to adapt to what is in front of you. And I think that's the way he wants to play. He doesn't want to have one particular way of playing. Every team we play, we have to play differently, because we saw it last season sometimes. Like, yeah, you want to constrict guys, but if they're just going to camp, like the Southampton game was a little bit fun, because Southampton was playing out from the back successfully, and we're not high pressing them.
The commentators were saying literally, I heard one of the commentators say, "What is going on?" Like this.
Yeah, like we're not high pressing.
They were like Southampton were. Honestly,
they were
I don't want to get into my rant about what Pep has done to this league, but the fact that a team like Southampton has winless on the season and surely going to get relegated.
Yeah, and they're praising them
and serving
brave,
up
brave and progressive.
No,
once they call you that,
the commentators were not praising them though. They were like, this is madness. They were saying this is madness.
But yeah,
they were repeating the same sequence over and over and losing the ball and giving direct shots.
Ramsdale gave one to Sterling.
Ridiculous.
But
absolutely,
Sterling just couldn't cash it in. But yeah, it's stuff like that if you're a big team, you don't want to see it. But I mean, Mourinho made a name for himself in this league, being very, very defensive and knowing how to hunt. Like, it's like, yeah, if you have the ball and you can't score and you're frustrated, we're not gonna pick our time to now hold the ball. So what is Pep's only, he doesn't want to give you the ball at all. He wants to hold that ball for 90 minutes. Mourinho is more like, oh yeah, go and carry the ball, right? make sure you do something with it because when we get it back, we are definitely going to score. And our manager looks like he's blending all those things. Plus the set pieces. I like it's such a weird sensation. I don't know if Adams you ever felt that when you're watching Chelsea. When we get a corner, I bring out my phone and I'm starting to record. I just feel like we're going to score. Like Gabby had two near ones that he almost scored. And it's so crazy because Saka is delivering these things perfectly. Like I look at when we get it on the left side, because that's where Declan Rice takes his own. Declan's deliveries are not good as such. I don't know if we might need to switch it up with him. But Saka is sending it straight. And they do this thing where all of them start on one side. Then everyone runs. Then the person that's supposed to get the ball, someone is just gonna hold the guy that's supposed to mark him. And the ball just goes straight to that person's. Like I don't know when Mikel thought of it. It's just crazy. But yeah, it's different as you are saying. Like I'm not used to this kind of ball. But at the same time, as you said too, if you are winning games, I'm not gonna complain. I mean, I don't know if you saw Lee Gunner's video after the Southampton game. The guy was ranting and upset that Arsenal was bad and that they've given Saka 2 fluke assists. I'm like, nah, I'm never gonna do that. The goal of this sport is to win games. If you want it to be attractive, maybe go and do what Ange did against Chelsea last year, where you're playing a Highland and you're getting called brave. I don't want to be called brave. They don't brave people die. I want to win trophies. I don't want to be called brave because that's what people say. Like
Yeah.
you guys,
I've always said there's nothing brave about losing, in my opinion.
the only brave about being
it's not bravery.
and that's what's so
You're
annoying
just
with
a loser.
in England. Like I don't know if you guys saw all the United legends talking about how Arsenal were defensive against Man City.
I
10
didn't
minutes.
get that. Like
It was
I
so
couldn't
I don't know if
understand.
it's like these guys are like they are the levels of hate that they are reaching is nasty. Because how are you 10 man down and you're expecting a team at the Etihad to go bang for bang with Man City? Even we couldn't even do it against Brighton. Like there's no when you go 10 men, you should just automatically go and be defensive. Even if you're not 10 men. Like even against Tottenham when they with the midfield of Jorginho and Partey, I'm not expecting any kind. I don't want us to even hold the ball. Because on the transition, I mean, you guys have seen Jorginho run, you've seen Partey run. Like they're not going to chase anybody. So I like our manager, how he's adapting. He's not being naive. And I feel like that's why we've not lost any games yet. Because every time we've been in trouble, he's made the right substitutions. Every time we've gone down in a game, even the Leicester game when we're 2-2, like the substitutions just have impact. So for that, I'm not the only thing that just annoyed me is there's no ball this weekend. Like I need some more because Uza is right. Like I want to see what this team is like when we have Odegaard, Rice, Moreno, when we can play Tomiyasu and Ben White or Calafiori and Ben White or Tomiyasu and Timber. When everybody is healthy, but the injuries are just like now Timber is out, Ben White is out. There's no our manager doesn't give any timeline on when these guys are coming back. They said Odegaard is not going back to the end of November. So it's gonna take till probably December till we see a full strength Arsenal team, and that's hoping there are no knock on wood, there are no injuries to any players from now till then. But we've learned from our lessons. Havertz is not going to international break. I think the only person going from our team is probably Saka.
You learn
And
from your lessons. You guys do that every time.
man,
See, Adams, that thing you just said is where I'm like, and it's just the kind of the final point on Arsenal for me is I like because I look at Arsenal and I think is he now being too creative and too innovative? Because I look at Liverpool's run, right? We could have easily said, you know what, club, learn your lesson from the 99-point season or the 98-point season and just change the way you play. You had too many draws, you blah blah blah, you pushed City, but you didn't get it over the line. So change everything about the way you play. But I think he persisted with it and they eventually were successful playing the same way. And I feel like, and this is just personal, right? I don't think Mikel has completely exhausted the best of his plan A. And I think he's already pivoted to plan B, C, D, E, F. And I understand that there's multiple ways to win, right? You have to be adaptable. But my fear, and like I keep saying, I won't be right until the end of the season, right? Because last year I said the same thing. I was like, let's see if this style, and ultimately last year it proved to be the right thing to do, right? The experiments that he ran at the start of the season ended up being very beneficial towards the end of the season, unfortunately, of course, like dealing with City, it didn't pan out that way. But at the end of this season, I think we'll be able to be rightfully or wrongfully justified in analyzing, okay, was it the right thing to continue to innovate and like upset the balance of the team year in year out when you haven't really exhausted the best of it yet? Like we haven't seen them win something playing the way they were playing in 2023, and then we haven't seen them win something the way they were playing in 2024. And now it's like there's a new fresh style already in 2025. And it's like, okay, so is it that you feel like the team needs to get to a certain point and that's just going to happen regardless of your success? Or is it that you feel like you can't achieve success without adapting so much? But we'll see. I don't know if you have any takes on that, Adams, but I figure we can use this time to transition to Chelsea. So if you have any thoughts on Arsenal, drop them real quick and then let us know where you stand on Chelsea. Are you title contenders?
Yeah, so with the Arsenal thing, right? I think for Mikel, one thing I'll say about him is so far, whatever like if I was an Arsenal fan, I'll have 100% faith in him. Because what he has done so far, they've always worked, right? And especially the fact that it always starts a little bit controversial. By the end of the day, even they will admit, like, what's this guy doing, right? Why is he signing Havertz? Like, why did he get Raya when we had, Ramsdale was doing okay? So if, he's that type of character and with his track record, I feel like obviously, like, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but based on what he has done, I feel like, he makes sense to just think that he's doing the right thing.
That's fair.
Yes. So for Chelsea, man, you guys already know. I said it last week.
What? So the guy is pretending like he didn't want to talk about Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea.
That smirk, man. Adams, cool.
Now you guys already know, man. It's what 8 games into the season. No, man, we're not title contenders, man. Like it's way too early. I know it's like we swap places with Arsenal because Arsenal were doing the same thing, but we're not even Arsenal of that season, right? Arsenal that season were like cooking teams. I think they first 10 games you guys didn't lose, right?
No, they didn't lose.
Yeah, so yeah, we're
No,
not
we
the
did.
same.
We lost to Man U.
Oh right. At Old Trafford, I remember that loss.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah,
they were pretty much perfect besides that loss.
Yeah, so it's not the same thing, and I don't think we should even be concerned about top 4 is going to be a tough race. Tougher
Adams,
than people expect.
you said something 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the heart of the question, right? I'm not saying are you going to win the league, of course, but you said you were quoting me from last season. You were saying in order to get top 4, you're going to have to kind of be in a pseudo title race anyway, right? Do you feel like that's the bracket that you're in right now, is where Spurs were last season, where, well, you kind of have to keep up the momentum just so you can secure top 4 because
Absolutely.
there's such a chase impact behind you?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, right?
Okay.
Not the traditional sense of title race, but you have to keep pace if you want to, blow out the other competition, for top 4. So yeah, that makes sense, but not the traditional sense of, going toe to toe with Arsenal or City. Nah.
So part of that question was, what do you think Chelsea are lacking in order to become contenders, like true contenders? Like why? Like what do you think? I mean, we can all point to the midfield, we can point to the defense, we can point to the goalkeeper, but what do you think is like? Do you have your Alisson and Van Dijk kind of signing in mind that you think immediately transformed the team?
I think it's a little bit more than that too. For Chelsea, I think a lot of our players and a few of our players are not just mature yet to deliver that consistency. We might rave about a few of them and say, they have world-class talent, right? They have world-class talent, but they don't have that consistency yet. And that's the surprising thing about Arsenal, is how they were able to find consistency so quickly. Normally, it rarely happens in football. You need to take time. So this team is showing that, from 2 seasons ago, you've seen the progression. Their own, it takes slower for them. It's going to take a longer process for a few of the players that we have, except, if we just go and, swap those players out and buy new players. So players like Madueke, for instance, I feel like he has world-class talent, but he needs a lot of consistency. Palmer is also another player that obviously Wait, you don't think Madueke has world-class talent?
I know you're Dark Horse FC, but Are we saying Noni Madueke has world-class potential, talent at all?
I think so. I think he
Let
does.
Adams finish. Now this is a segment. Allow him to
Ooh, no.
I think he
I needed
does.
to make sure I clear. That's wow.
I think
I'm
he
not
does.
even trolling or banter or anything. That's the first time I've heard anybody say that.
No, I think he does, man. I think he's the and this is not even the first time since when he was at PSV. I think he had, absolute world class talent. Like the way I don't think I've seen a lot of players that can get past players the way he does. Like every time he's on the ball, he looks certain to beat you, and that rarely happens in the Premier League. So he's somebody that I feel like he's. I don't want to say he's underrated because he's not. Like he hasn't gone to that level where you underrate his ability, but I don't know how to class him, but he just has a lot of potential, and people, for some reason, choose to not see it, which is weird to me. I don't know if it's a Chelsea thing. If it was probably another team, people would be raving about him. If he was in Crystal Palace, people would be saying, "This is the next guy up. This is the guy you guys should get." But I don't know. Maybe because it's Chelsea.
I don't care if it was at Wimbledon. I've never seen. I don't think I've seen. And I'll be so honest. Even when he scored the hat trick, it wasn't like the most blow me away hat trick I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Where like, oh, the performance was just like I think of like Eze or Olise or even Neto, who's in the same team, and I can think of games, moments where I'm like, that guy looks like I've seen Neto rip City to shreds by himself, just 1v1. Just tell them, you know what, you're not winning this game, and there's nothing you can do about it. I've seen Olise do the same thing. I've seen Olise just absolutely demolish Manchester United, scoring free kicks, scoring crazy goals. Eze, less said about him. I can't point to a game from Nani where I've been like, you know what, if he can produce this consistently, I've seen the hat trick told me, you know what, he can be a good contributor. It kind of, Chicks might like this comparison. He kind of reminds me of an Eddie Nketiah. We saw Nketiah score a hat trick. We've seen him have hold on.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No. Okay. So first of all, in my opinion, Adams, that's disrespectful to Nketiah because I think Nketiah has done more in this league. Nketiah has done more in this league than
you can do more in the league, but not have enough potential. Nketiah might have done more in this league than who's a newcomer to the league. But you can do more in the league.
So Adams, think back to remember when Nketiah scored the brace against United, right, to deliver 3 points. This was in their first title race season. And then he followed that up with he scored a brace against Chelsea as well. I remember, I think that was at the bridge.
Yeah.
Scored a brace to keep them in the top 4 race. He had that insane hat trick against was it Sheffield? Where
there was nothing insane about that hat trick.
He scored a banger from outside to complete the hat trick. It was even that hat trick to me was even more insane than Adams,
as someone that has been here more recently, title race and all. What I'll tell you to not do is just focus on the guys that are good. I don't think Noni and world class should be put in the same sentence.
No, I said he has world class talent.
I'm saying like
I don't even think he has that.
Like, I don't think he should be put in the same sentence. I think he's a good player. Ultimately, someone like Noni is not going to survive that upgrade that's coming
at all. He's going to be one of the first ones out of the team.
Yeah, like I think you should focus
we'll see about that, man. I have a lot of faith in this guy, but I get it.
That's you as a fan. But the truth is, we know what is making this engine go, and that's who we should be talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even before you move past that, let me ask Adams one quick question. Did you consider Willian world class in his time at Chelsea?
No, I didn't think he was world class.
I think Noni has Willian potential. That's it. I think that's the maximum he can ever be.
And honestly, that's fine.
If he has a Willian career, he would have made the most of his talent.
And that's fine. But do you think Willian had world class talent?
Sometimes on his day, on his day. We can level it that. I'm gonna let you keep going. I wanted to clarify because I'm like, I've never watched a sequence where I'm like, man, Noni can become one of the best players in the world. That's what I think of. That's what I think of when I hear world class. Is you can be one of the best in the world.
Fair, but I think he can be one of the best wingers in the Premier League. Let's leave it at that. I think he can be one of the best wingers in the Premier League, and I don't think he's far off that right now.
I will not nod my head, but keep cooking.
Right now,
top 10 wingers in the league right now.
No, he's
based
not.
on this season.
No, he's not.
This season.
He's not even top 10 on his own wing.
This season, based on this season,
maybe. If he enters top 5, then maybe.
He's
you
top
can
10
trust him.
based on this season. And I'm not even trying to, just
Anyway,
based on
me, I don't
Top 10 on fantasy.
I don't engage in discussions because I know who is number one, but that's neither
Ah,
here nor there.
my God.
You
But
guys,
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
let's keep
see
going. Let's
that.
keep going.
No,
Yeah, we
no,
got sidetracked.
no, no. But Adams, you were saying there's players with world class talent. Maybe you used the wrong example, but whatever. Keep going.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
we
So
get the
that
sentiment.
yeah, they're players that have world class talent, but I think that they need that level of consistency. And like you guys said, we might need to tweak some things. We might need to change some of those players. Some of those players probably don't belong to the level we're supposed to be at, and time will tell. But I just feel like we're a long way off of that. And I look at our team, especially the way the squad is constructed with the way the Premier League is going right now. I look at City, I look at Arsenal, I look at those teams, and one thing that I feel like we're lacking is the physicality. I don't think we have that physicality apart from our two center backs, Cowell and Fofana, or maybe Tosin, whoever it is. The midfield, there's no
And and even those center backs are pretty lightweight. If you really like in terms of their frame, they're built lean, tall, lanky. Like they're not the typical bulldozers. Like they're
exactly.
physical, but they're not like
They're
built.
not, yeah, I get, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like, and the funny thing is, Maresca said it too. He said, we need a physical. He didn't say we need. He was saying he was talking about Casede, Cesare Casede. I don't know if you guys know him. He's one of those players you
One
guys
of
like
the
to talk about.
45. Number
So,
39.
so he has that type of frame, but he's normally like a box to box midfielder. But what he has done is in those like lesser games, the conference leagues, the Carling Cup games, he's played him as a holding midfielder. And they asked him the question why. And he said he feels like the game is going towards a direction where you need a physical presence in midfield, right? You look at the guys like Rodriguez, look at Rice, maybe Partey to an extent. Those are the model like number 6 right now. And I'm not saying that to discredit Caicedo or Enzo. Those guys are, ballers on that day, but we just like that physicality. And that's one thing that I feel like
I
that's
think he even also used Renato Vega in one of those games at that holding mid.
yeah,
And if
he
you want
did.
to talk physical, that the guy is built like a WWE wrestler.
And yeah, I feel like we'll learn a lot about this team during adversity, right? When we start facing injuries, when the suspensions. I know we might get a few suspensions because of the shuffle at the end of the game. I know Cucurella might miss the game, Fofana might miss the game. So we'll
I
really
think
learn.
those two are missing the game on yellow cards
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
So
There
they're
might be more coming when they do their investigation and they decide to maybe. I think Jackson hit a player, so he might miss the
Ooh.
game too. Yeah. So we don't know. Hopefully they
You
don't
know,
fight.
Nico Williams is a Liverpool boy. He did that on purpose. He started that whole ruckus to get people suspended ahead of Anfield.
But you know what? I like to see that though. I liked it. I like to see that fight.
And you know who's number one in those fights? It's always
Yeah, my
Colwell.
boy, man,
It's
my boy.
always
Like
Colwell.
he's putting his name in, man. For
You
the
guys
next
have raised
fight.
a bastard, man.
I've never seen a footballing highlights from Kobe before.
He's
Like,
always
every time I
fighting.
see him on my timeline, always fighting.
Yeah, man.
He's like the reverse of what you expect. The whole light skin stigma to be. Like he's supposed to be doing fine boy.
Only but, like,
He's an
but,
Agbero.
but
He doesn't
the
do
thing is,
that.
He's a flat out thug.
he's not even intimidating. Like when you look at him, I remember like Everton used to have this one guy called Ben Godfrey.
Ben Godfrey, yeah.
Ben Godfrey had such an intimidating like face. It's like
yeah,
you don't want to mess with him. But with Cole, I'm like,
I want those problems.
Are you really about that life? Like,
you have to test
him.
He looks like he grew up with milk and spoon. Like you know what I mean? He looks like he's not from the ends.
That's honestly where like Chelsea just have me worried a bit because they don't have that. They're not really strong. The Brighton game, you guys won that game, but that Baliba brother,
bro,
was shifting everybody in the midfield. And
that game, the first 20 minutes of that game, this boy was skating.
He was exactly, and it's like you are like, Caicedo, have fun now. That one has eaten all the money he's earning every week.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that though. Caicedo,
not ready anymore.
Because if there's anybody that you can slightly throw shade at, slightly though,
no, but Baliba, that boy was moving crazy, man.
Yeah, he
That's the
was.
only thing that does worry me a little bit with Chelsea.
And
But at the
that's
end
why
of
I knew
the
they
day,
would struggle with Forest because Forest are all physical. And
Bro.
you can see Chelsea never got a grip on that game
yeah, they
at
never did.
all.
The
Forest stunk
physicality
out that
thing.
game from
Another
minute
team, another
zero.
team that I think we're going to struggle against if they turn up on their day is Everton.
Yeah, very physical.
Everton is
And
good. Yeah,
Leicester,
Everton,
Leicester
you want to
City as
catch them
well.
early. Teams like Everton.
Leicester
bro, that
City
boy
is sneakily
Yates. That
physical.
boy Yates, man. Last time.
I hate that guy.
Right?
I
Yes.
hate that guy, bro.
Nah,
What he did to
that guy
Tottenham last
is
year, I
crazy.
will never forgive. And he didn't get a yellow card the entire. He's mastered the art of
He
just
has.
fouling from minute 1 to 90 and not getting
Look
booked
at
for it.
yeah, Forest definitely bold. But man, I one thing I will say is Kopama, my goodness. The only last thing he has to prove, maybe not to Chelsea fans, because obviously like that's your guy, you're gonna back him. But I think to the greater audiences, right now, everything he does just reminds me of Bruno. You know when Bruno first came, like he's someone that if you give him space, that's that to me. The only thing I would say is teams are gonna start to respect you a little bit more when you are playing like how Forest played, right? It's going to be cagey, physical,
Yeah.
and they are the ones looking for the transition, not you guys. Because the Brighton game, that Brighton manager should be flogged. He should be flogged after 3-2. I saw some of the chances that Nico and Noni were missing. These guys were playing suicide ball.
Even Palmer would have scored, probably scored like five or
Even
six.
West Ham too. Suicide ball against what I think is the best transition team in the league. I think even when that's one thing that makes me confident that when you come to the Emirates, it won't be sweet because I know my manager. He's not going to give you that space to even try it. He's going to give you the ball, though. But the West Ham Brighton game showed me that, especially with how industrious. I don't know why he gets a lot of hate online, but Nico Jackson, industrious football player. Even if he's going to miss 10. Guess who'll be there for the 11th one? He's going to move. That's the only thing that gets me worried with Chelsea is, and also with Palmer is when the games are like the Forest game, like are you able to dissect? Do you we see
The reason why I shook my head with the Bruno comparison is I think technically they're
Oh
completely
no, I mean I'm
dissimilar.
not
It's
for me
if you're talking impact, then
yeah,
fair.
that
But
like that
I
impact
think
like when
they're
Bruno
in two
came.
different
Yeah,
leagues.
they're totally different.
Technically, that
No,
I don't even.
technically,
And also, like in
Palmer is
that
better.
Forest game, Palmer created some beautiful chances, and he should have scored, and he should have gotten a lot of assists. So
Hey,
it's
man,
like,
that Mudryk chance.
ooh,
Yeah, man, Mudryk, man. I don't know, man. I might have to.
But
Well, it's
but
early.
one thing that is like I would say is all those things came at the end. Like at the beginning of games, when like
I think you
the
remember. You
focus
remember
is there, they are sharp.
the second season Saka treatment. I think Palmer is going to start getting that now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Is when now it's like okay, because everyone knows he's good. Everyone knows Chelsea.
Yeah, they'll pay him that
good.
respect. There's
But
not some,
they are not.
well,
They are
some
not really
teams.
respecting you guys yet. Like that Brighton game, Brighton didn't play us like that too.
No. That's what I'm about to say. It makes sense to play that way because of the way football is right now. Like teams
Yeah.
are dumb, right? So that's the best way to play. If you're smart, just allow them and then you hurt them in transition. So we always have teams like that. Southampton. I can't wait to face Southampton.
can I say something? Banter aside, I don't think that's on Cole. I think that's where coaching comes in, right? Because I think of like two sports, and Chooks, you can back me up on this: NFL, NBA. When you get a superstar, there's two ways to utilize him. One, you can do the James Harden, the Luka Doncic way, right? Force everything through him, kill his efficiency, but you know that one moment of magic will win you the game, right? That's so. Cole Palmer, you get the ball, spam, dribble into tight spaces, do something, anything, we'll take it, right? That's one way. You build the team around him. Two, there's the Jokic way, right? And we see this even in NFL. You have a superstar receiver, you just kind of have them draw attention away from what you're trying to do. So, Cole, you're going to attract 3-4, fine. Take them down an alley. Reverse the ball. Let's get one-on-ones for guys like Mudryk, one-on-ones for guys like Neto, Sancho. Let's get late runs from Nkunku. Let's get Jackson in dangerous areas. Let's get everybody else firing, and then we relieve some of that pressure on you. So for me, I think that second season syndrome is more on the coach. You now need to figure out how to utilize this weapon because you have a time bomb. So, one, are you going to just blow up the square, or are you going to be kind of clever in the way that you're able to utilize it to get what you want? So, I know people have done this to Saka, and I think Saka is just one of the easiest people to like make fun of because he's an Arsenal player, whatever, whoopty woo. You don't want to respect him, but for me, that second season thing is more on the coach than it is on the player because the player's already proven what he can do when he's asked to do his job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has ever beaten 3-4 people consistently, not even Messi. That's where coach now has to put you in those positions to be effective.
To back up your point, and the other players have to stand up. They have to stand up and be recognized. Like you can't just that's why the Noni thing, I don't mind it. I don't mind because Noni is such a funny character. Like he feels like he should be the man. Right? It's crazy to think about it, but you need to be that crazy sometimes.
That's why, Adams, I agree with you. It's not world-class talent you were trying to say. He has a world-class confidence.
Yeah, maybe that's the best.
He has the confidence of the main franchise player.
Yeah.
Like he thinks like half of that stadium came to see him and they have his jersey on. So, but yeah, you're right. It's one of those things where if he starts firing, it only starts to help you because the more Cole gets isolated, the more dangerous he is. And I think the more teams you play that respect you, that camp in their own half, will be able to really see what your team is about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the point of physicality is probably the best point because the league has kind of transitioned to where like when Diego Carlos came on in that Man United game, he's not a good defender normally, but that game was the perfect game for him. It was almost like it was just God's will that Konsa got injured because when he came on, I said, "Oh, United, good luck." There was one where he like just body checked Højlund. Forget about it. Forget about it. And we've seen that with guys like Saliba, Gabriel, like just the ability to know 1v1, my guy is more physical than your guy. Man, so you better be technically gifted or you've lost the ball.
It's the best thing. The only thing I was going to add to that point with the Saka code thing too is what I feel like also Chelsea fans should be excited about is just a chance to see if the guy if his IQ is really that good. Like when he's caged up and he can't run through like Saka now. You can't run through 4 people. Even till now, we see once he has the ball, literally the winger on that side is running straight to him. Mm-hmm. Now let's see if you can do something off the ball. You give it quickly, you move, and you're right. Other guys have to step up. When you have that chance to get 1v1, none, you can't be too greedy. And that's something I don't know how Pep does it. Like when I remember that 2017 to like 2019 run with when Guardiola came in, is how unselfish the wingers were. Those goals they used to score, those
cutbacks,
those cutbacks into the end. Do you know how money. I saw there was in because I was watching the 2 games together, the Chelsea game and that game. There was one none he had where I don't think what is his dominant leg?
I think he's left. His left.
Yeah, he had it on his right leg, right? Just square. Some passes you have like a second. The guy tried to put his leg so he can curl.
That's where he needs to improve. Knowing when to pass it.
Stuff like that. Pep knew. I remember Mahrez. Mahrez had so many assists with his right leg because immediately he saw threats. Immediately he's just gonna pass it. And
but specifically with Mahrez, he coached it out of him. He's gonna bend you. He's gonna take you off in the middle of a game, and you won't play for the next 5 weeks.
That's where like if they add that to, and thank God you took this boy out of Pep's hands because I cannot imagine Guardiola holding this kind of guy.
I asked the question in the group. Do you guys think Foden would have been this level of talent if he wasn't at City?
To be honest, and I'm actually going to put all my hate aside. I think so because some of these guys
City players are good. Look at Liam. Look at Liam Delap. Look at Rogers.
Look at Rogers in Villa.
Morgan
all these
Rogers,
boys,
they're all good.
These boys are bonus.
When you invest at that level of academy, I mean, we're talking about the people that have left. How about Oscar Bob? He was looking like he was about to come
before he got injured.
The next best. But the way he was moving in preseason, I was like, "Oi, who's this?" And we even saw the debut goal he scored.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
well,
the
that's a
shoot
crazy goal against
against
Newcastle.
Newcastle,
Yeah,
like the level of
And the level
technical
of talent
quality
in that place is scary.
is
So and
absolutely scary.
that's where like football, the only sport that is
Sancho
not
was a
this
City
way,
product. People
yeah,
even forget
from
that.
City. The only sport that is not this way is the NFL. But soccer or football itself and American football, you really need everybody to contribute for that superstar to really shine.
Right.
Because if other guys don't play their role at least to a comparable, level, the guys won't shine. Because I'm thinking about it, that Forest game, if Noni is a little bit less selfish,
You
those
win
are
the game
two,
three
those are
four
two,
nil.
3 goals that you are
Yeah.
leaving. Even that Brighton game could have been 8 goals.
Right.
But it
There
gets
was a reverse pass that Cole gave. I think it was Nico. And it's just like you have to be doing something with that. Like,
like
and
you have
these are the kind of moments that just go,
yeah, but like people are not going to notice it. But
you don't
I
get the glory.
I
Yeah.
think that transfer alone, you people have wasted a lot of money. But that transfer alone
yeah,
saved
saved
them
us,
all.
saved
yeah,
us
it's,
hundreds of
because
That transfer
I'll take
alone,
Cole is worth 250, 300
man,
easily. So
that
you can
transfer
remove
alone
from
saved your whole club.
you can remove from
It did,
Caicedo,
man.
you
It
can
did.
remove from
Your
Enzo,
club.
just scrape some of their money and to me, Cole saved Chelsea's
Man,
transfer strategy.
he
Right now, the recruiters they get to pump up their chest
yeah,
and
because
say,
now they can
"Oh,
Right now, bro,
oh,
whatever they
dude,
do, I don't
that's
even
what
care, man.
when people were saying, "Oh, you're shitting on our project," blah blah. Talk now. I'm like, listen, if it wasn't for Cole, and you have to give them credit for it, but if it wasn't for Cole, the project
But
is
it's not
still
just
ass.
Cole, though. It's not just Cole. Jackson is looking like he's a revelation too.
brother,
But
if there's no
if
Kopama,
there's no Cole, none of this is happening. Let's
Mikel
just be
Obi would
real.
have been putting toothpick in his teeth as he was waiting on. No, bro, trust me, every team there's a man. Without that man, I'm sorry, you are going to suffer. It's like it's like Liverpool losing Salah last year during that AFCON stretch. I feel like that was one of the main reasons why they started to drop off and the injuries he had. When you lose, it's certain players that when they don't play,
Gravity.
everybody else that is looking good, you're not going to look
Yeah,
good anymore.
everybody's not.
You won't
Yeah.
look good anymore because the attention that guy is getting, the passes he's able to give, like the magic he's able to create by himself, is just too much. Now I'll hate on a bunch of players who, but what I've seen from Kopama, you just have to respect it. Like
Yeah,
I don't think anybody can have anything negative to say because you have to respect it.
and I said last week, like Cole's not someone that I'm looking to prove anything to me. I think
Yeah.
his chain is absolute because sometimes the numbers don't match the eye test, or the eye test don't match the numbers. With you see guys like Liao, eye test wise, yeah, but you look at the numbers, you hold your nose. This guy has
Nah, this
just
guy, and he's
you
doing
watch
that
him,
thing.
you're convinced. You see the numbers, you're convinced. He has
He's doing
nothing to
that.
prove to me.
He's also doing that thing that Kane used to do, where he catches those teams that want to be foolish.
Yeah,
He
he
leaves nothing on
punishes.
his
Yeah,
plate.
yeah.
There's not the guy eats rice on his beard, man. He'll pick it up, put it in his mouth. There's nothing being left.
When he
I
took
firmly
when he took
believe
that penalty when he was going for the
when he
golden
snatched it
boot,
from Noni.
and those two
Yeah.
guys were begging, bro. Nani and Nico looked like those commercials that we hate where for 10 cents a day you can feed a child. You not see their eyes just bleeding. That's how Nico and Nani were looking. They were bleeding. 9 games, no goals. They needed
They
something.
needed something,
Cole
man.
was like, I ain't got no friends in this village. That's your
Good.
business, man.
That's your cross to
cross
carry.
to
Mind you, I think he was already on 2 goals.
He
I
was
think he already scored. Yeah, I think he already
he
scored.
already scored in that
goals.
game.
Yeah,
He was
I
like,
firmly
listen,
believe and
Nah,
that
he
Brighton
scored
game,
3, and he was going for the 4th one.
Adams, that
Crazy.
Brighton game, if people had gotten the penalty in the second half,
he would have played it
he would have
again.
scored
Yep.
Yeah,
5.
yeah,
He
absolutely.
would
Yeah.
have told those boys, man.
And
people
to
need
me,
relax.
that's a great quality.
Oh
That's an
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
fantastic quality.
That's the best quality.
The only
My
person that is
goodness.
allowed not to do that is Messi. If you're not Messi, man, you absolutely have to want everything.
Absolutely. But we go from a prolific attack to Ange. I was gonna go to United next, but we've burnt a lot of time on the more important topics. If we don't get to United this episode, our podcast
Yeah,
will be better for
have
it.
to put them next week, please.
Our podcast will be better for it because honestly, that Villa United game is one of those games where you say that was not an advert for the
Yeah,
Premier League.
that was nasty work.
If you would have told me that was Yokohama All Stars versus Yobe Stars, I would have said fairs. I believe
Bro,
you.
Villa looked like El Kanemi Warriors out there, man. He was so
Well,
disgusting.
I was talking about Nasarawa United. I think that was the United that showed up
What?
at Villa Park. Absolutely low quality, god awful game. And boy, am I glad they didn't make that the primetime game, because it would have been an embarrassment for our sport. But we did get an entertaining game, and I think before the game, Ange said he didn't want to be cautious. He don't care about no high line. Let's go entertain the fans and hopefully
That's the
win.
funniest I've heard a coach say, man.
As you guys can see from my tag, I'm here to defend Ange, of course. I think, and I know you guys are gonna cook, but I have to say, for me, that game had very little to do with the manager. I don't think there was anything wrong with the setup. I don't think that we played too high. I don't think we played too open. I think the game plan was perfect. I think we set up to exploit their high line, and those guys, you thought they learned their lessons from Chelsea. They didn't learn anything. Herzer came out there. He sat his team on the halfway line again. They were about maybe 5 yards behind, but to me, that's not learning your lesson. Just dropping back 5 yards. They need to drop back all the way. Listen, you're not good. You're not good enough to play out from the back consistently and hold that high of a line with Louis Dunk standing on the halfway line and having to chase fast guys all game. So they didn't learn their lesson. They still stood 5 yards off the halfway line, and we absolutely set up to exploit. You can see from the first 2 minutes, ball out to Verna, ball out to Brennan, ball out to Verna, ball out to Brennan. We're just going long every time, and we're creating a load of chances. We could have easily been 3-4 up within the first 5-10 minutes. But of course, Timo Werner, at this point, he's looking like a make-a-wish kid, bro. I'm not sure if we're trying to. It would be different if we sign him permanently and we're trying to justify the cost that he. You know what I mean? Like you have those players in your team where you're like, he costs too much. We can't drop him. He must work.
Yeah,
this is a loanee. There's no obligation. There's not even an option to buy him. He's going to be going back to Leipzig at the end of the season, and we keep trying to make it work. And that's the one flaw I'll say I've seen with Ange recently is when he backs a player, he backs them no matter what. Rain, shine, whatever the weather, bad performance, good performance, he's playing them regardless. Because Werner has been bad 3-4 games straight. He's been missing wide open chances. He's been misplacing passes. He has been largely ineffective, and he's rendered all of our attacks useless. And he keeps playing them. So for me, perfect game plan. Werner wasted a lot of chances, but eventually we made the breakthrough. We go up 2-0. Brennan has been absolutely firing. I have to, at this point, not hold my hands up. It was all fun in games 3 and 3, 4 and 4, tap in, tap in, tap in. At this point, I don't know what's going on. The guy has absolutely shut me up. There's a sock in my mouth. I can't speak his name anymore. I already said in the group chat, I can't slander him. I may not be able to praise him, and I will never be able to bring myself to praise the guy, but I at least cannot slander him anymore.
Well, if he scores 10 in 10, will you praise him?
I can't praise him because my eyes work. You know what I mean? And as long as my eyes work, I can't praise what I'm seeing, but I can stop the slander. I can't give him any bad nicknames anymore. I have to just hold that. So my hands are up. The guy is absolutely fine right now. But Brennan put us one ahead. And then we went on to score another goal for Madison. I thought that was just bad goalkeeping from Verbruggen, whatever the guy's name is. But even still in the first half, Brighton looked threatening. They had a few chances. But I thought that we managed all of their attacks well. I thought we played very, very well in the first half. We controlled the game. And I have to give Ange a lot of credit. I don't think we've been as high. I don't think we've been as open in the last few games. And people keep using the same excuses. Oh, Spurs play too dangerous. They're too gung-ho, attack. That wasn't the case. Anyone who watched this game, objectively speaking, you would have seen that we dropped a lot lower. We went long a lot. We were more kind of structured in our possession. We weren't as chaotic and as suicidal in the way that we played. But that second half, the players quit. And what was so strange about that game is, and this is why, like, when it comes to the ability to challenge for titles, to win things, this is why mentality matters. I go back to, Chooks, was it 2.5 years ago? The 1-1 draw at City, where you lost the game in the final minute because Gabriel got sent off. And Arsenal fans got trolled heavily for praising a defeat. Oh, people were saying, remember that when Arsenal won won a game that they lost 2-1 at the Etihad, blah, blah, blah. And Arsenal fans were saying, you don't understand. The mentality of this team, we saw something. We saw something. We saw something. There's a fight. There's a hunger. It's different, blah, blah, blah. And we were all trolling and laughing at them. And I was the first in line because, I'm not going to miss a chance to cook Arsenal. But you go back to games like that, and it tells you who has the bottle, who has the mentality to win titles, to challenge for titles, to sustain pressure. And these are the kinds of games that in the reverse tell you who doesn't. I'm sorry, bro. I looked at the team, and for the first time, I actually hated some of the players. I was like, oh, yeah, no, you guys have pissed me off. Because there was no reason for the game to devolve into what it became. And it reminded me of the Chelsea game. It reminded me again of Brighton last season, the 4-2 game. It reminded me of the Fulhams. It reminded me of the Newcastles. And for me, we need to now be removing these kinds of moments from our gene, from our genetic makeup. The fact that it's still in there is so pitiful and so dissatisfying because we go into a game, you're 2-0 up, you're largely in control of the game. We had everyone back for all 3 of the goals. Everybody was back. And just absolutely shocking and diabolical defending from Destiny. Destiny had not just his worst game as a Spurs player, he had the worst game I've seen from a Spurs fullback in like 10 years, bro. Worse than anything I've seen from Emerson, worse than anything I've seen from Danny Rose towards the end of his tenure, worse than anything I've seen from even Trippier when he was out there selling. I've never seen a performance that bad. He was responsible for pretty much all 3 goals, and it was his attitude as well. With each goal he gave up, he didn't seem like he cared. It was literally just like almost like if he could sag his pants and put his hands in his shorts, he would have been fine doing that, just strolling around the park. Absolutely horrific performance. Van de Ven was awful on those goals. The entire left-hand side of the defense was terrible. Romero was ball watching. This is a guy that's won a World Cup, Mr. Mentality Merchant. All of these guys were absolutely poor.
You don't think that's on the coach?
No. And you know me, I've been hard on Ange. And for me, I'm always an evidence-based guy. This mentality thing precedes Ange. It's been here before him, right? Conte dealt with it. Mourinho dealt with it. Managers who have more bottle about them have come and said, you know what? There's no fixing that. You can't fix that. These guys don't want to play under pressure. This is a direct quote from Conte. These guys don't like to play under pressure. And I was saying this, the Everton game, I was saying this in private group chats. I was saying, people were saying, oh, talk about Madison now. How about that performance? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, this team is a fair weather team. It's all nice. At home, Everton, C team, nice day out, get the family out, everything's great. 4-0, kick the ball. Everybody looks great. 9 out of 10s across the park. Is those games at St. James, at the Emirates, at Stamford Bridge, at Anfield, games where you're under pressure, at the Amex, apparently, because I didn't even think that was one of those games. This is not even a game that is supposed to be high pressure. This is a game that is free food. You're going 2-0 up. You make that a 4-0 game. Maybe you concede one consolation goal at the end, and you walk out of there winners. And they turned this game. They put the pressure on themselves, and they crumbled. After we conceded that first goal, 2 minutes into the second half, all of the players, their mentality was absolutely on the floor. And to me, that's unacceptable. Not to do that against Brighton. And I can look at the coach. I can say, okay, it's on you. But I looked at the bench. There was nothing on the bench. There was nothing on the bench to change the game. There was no tactical tweaks he could have made because we weren't getting out tactic. We were just getting out effort. Literally, the first goal came from Destiny just absolutely just not trying, right? The second goal, him and Van de Ven are right there. They both get rinsed by one guy that doesn't even make a move. Literally a buddy feint. They're both gone. That's not acceptable. The third goal was the worst of them all. 4 guys are around the ball. Somehow, the only one Brighton player hustles, fights, pushes his way through, gets a cross in. Romero is ball watching, expecting somebody else to do. Again, defenders, and Chooks will tell you this, Chooks is a defender. He's played as a defender most of his life. As a defender, the one thing you cannot do is assume that somebody else will clear the ball. If it means you clear your guy, your goalkeeper, everybody there, as long as you are getting the ball out, that's fine. Your assumption is always that there is danger. That's the whole point of being a defender. You assume that there is danger and you should be there to clean it up. So for Romero to be ball watching, thinking, oh, Bentancur is going to clear the ball. No, you have to assume that he's not. And he did it. and we get a free goal for an ex-Arsenal man, just to add insult to injury. Ex-Arsenal man gets the winner, and it was one of those performances like Zagreb, like West Ham, that like Newcastle away. It's just one of those ones that are unforgivable. You look at the players, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and it's like I need a break from them now. Like the international break is perfect because I don't want to look at any of their faces. I was so pissed off after that performance. I thought Destiny is someone who I've been saying. I just had a kid. I've been saying Project Destiny, one of my favorite players. I'm about to get a jersey with his name. No more. You're on timeout. To me, that was an awful.
Get that boy Saka.
All right,
Project
let's
Bukayo.
calma.
Dark skin king. Give him more.
So if he gets him a gift that says Saka, what are you gonna do?
He knows what's gonna happen to it. It's gonna be donated. There's a whole host of kids who don't have anything to wear. You know how like chicks, when one team loses the Super Bowl and the winning shirts for the team gets shipped somewhere in East Africa.
Done, man.
That Saka shirt is gonna be on some
bunch of
it's gonna be running around.
Arsenal merch.
I was about to say too.
South Sudan, bro. So South Sudanese terrorists, pirates are wearing that too. Right now in Sudan. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, for me, that was one of those unforgivable. And I saw a stat saying before every international break, we've lost every. So this is now starting to become something of maybe they're in holiday mode too early, right? And the way they played that second half, so casual. You can tell maybe some players were thinking, oh, we have Slovenia coming up. I want to be fresh for that game. I want to impress so I can get into the Nations League team, blah, blah, blah. Let me just casually stroll and take my time. And Brighton were hungry. They wanted it more, and they deserved to win. They absolutely fully deserved that win. And I have to hold that. I was talking greasy at the halftime. I got cooked on Twitter for it, and I'm happy to hold. But for me, had nothing to do with the coach. And if anything, I think the coach gets a lot of credit from this game because I think you now see the generational curse that he's dealing with here at Tottenham. Like, this is the mentality. A team that can lose their bottle at Amex against Brighton, of all teams. They can lose their bottle and not be able to withstand it. So, to me, it gives me more patience for the coach. I'm like, you know what? If these are the kinds of players that you're dealing with, if this is the caliber of mentality that you have here, because I don't question the coach's mentality. I never have. I've questioned his approach, his tactics. I never have once felt like, you know what? This guy's a scared guy. He's not brave. He's a coward. Nope. Those are not qualities that I think he has. And he's always said he wants to inject some of that into the players. And for me, it seems like it's a long, long, long road ahead of us. And I hate to say it, process.
I didn't see that game though. But I told you, man. And to borrow what you said last week, you lied on your resume. I told you after that Man United game, you guys didn't look like it. I just knew. After that game, I knew that you guys weren't serious. It was more Man United and it was about you. But I didn't see that game, so I can't really say a lot about the context of the game, like you just said. But yeah, I think you got cooked enough on Twitter, so I'll just spare you.
The thing is, I disagree with what you're saying tactically. Like, I don't think that the United game was about them and what they didn't do from a tactical perspective, because I think we set up to nullify them. And that's actually what I was going to touch on with the Villa game, right? I think Villa are doing the same thing that Arsenal are doing. There's an identity crisis. Because last season, going to Villa, you knew they're going to press you. They're going to make it kind of difficult.
Yeah.
And they're actually going to try to blame you off the park. They've now reversed course where Emery seems to be going for more of a like out of possession approach. We're going to try to limit your chances. And I thought that can work against certain teams. Like, it works against a Bayern. You get to soak up the pressure. You get to hit them on the counter. You go away with a famous win. That's all great.
But not United, right?
This United team, if you don't go out there and take possession of the game, they're going to absolutely hang around and make it a muddy game. And I think that's where I'm like, I give us all the credit because we didn't allow them to do that. We pushed them back into their own half, and we made sure that we played the game on our terms. And we did the exact same thing for Brighton. It's just where you're right, you're wrong on the tactical aspect, but where you're right, where it was more on United and us. And honestly, that red card is starting to look like a huge saving grace for us because I feel like if United would have come back in that second half with 11 men, with the way they started that second half, if one of those chances goes in and is 11v11, I think we're going to lose that game as well. I think where you're right is the mentality of the players. We have weak mentality. It's still very much Spursy. A lot of the things that Giorgio Chiellini said, Conte said, are all still true, bro. They're all still true. It is the history of the team. There's something in the water. Because we have guys from Juventus, Romero, Kulusevski, Bentancur. These are guys who have won titles. Romero's won a World Cup. We know he has bottle. When he puts on that Spurs shirt, gone. Coward, weak, absolutely just scared.
But a coach changes that though.
The coach has shown bottle all through his career. You can go back to his early kind of interviews. He's always coaching Yokohama. He thinks he's coaching Bayern. The guy took Celtic to the Bernabeu and stood on the halfway line. Everybody remembers that. So he's not someone that is lacking in bravery, but he's lacking the players that can put that mentality onto the pitch. And honestly, it's certain players I'm looking at in that team and I'm like, that's just not good enough. And that's where I'm like, we need depth. And that's where I envy guys like Arsenal, guys like City. Because when you have a player put that, Zinchenko, when he put that kind of performance out, when he was doing that weak mentality rubbish, guess what? You're back to the bench. You've got Timber, you've got Calafiori, you've got Tomiyasu, White. These are all guys that can take your spot. But Destiny looks back. Who's his backup? Ben Davies. He ain't worried. He's wearing that shirt next season, next game. I don't want to see Ben Davies. I don't care about Ben. I don't want to see Ben Davies. So it's like he knows that is a guaranteed start for him. And I think any successful team, nobody should be a guaranteed starter besides your superstar players. And I think that's the point of the project that we're in. We need to now get depth to push these guys, to keep them on their toes, and to prevent any kind of mentality that we're seeing in these games. But yeah, we absolutely deserve to get cooked. It was an absolute collapse, Spursy in all of the ramifications of the word.
No, I can't wait to face you guys, man. I can't wait to face you guys. I'm itching, right, bro?
The thing is, I'm not scared of Chelsea. I'm not. I don't think your midfield and your defense are particularly good. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I don't think, especially because of that midfield, and because of that defense and that goalkeeper. Oh my, I need it. And honestly, if there's any game in the entire season that Werner will actually be serviceable for, it's the Chelsea game. That might be the only game that we can actually get something out of this guy. But honestly, we can't get Sonny back fast enough. The mentality needs to change, but we move on, bro. I'm so glad for the international break. That's for sure.
Nah, but that tweet's raw. Everybody came to eat. Like everybody was fed. The guy was serving Amala to finish, man. They will go back and mix again. I saw the guy held it, bro.
Yeah.
You rattled all of
Agbero FC was in my mentions, bro. People were tweeting me from Idumota bus stop. People were tweeting me from Mile 2 on that bridge. I couldn't even understand some of the tweets. I was seeing languages I've never seen before. I was like,
Rola sent you.
Rola, you're not a good friend. You're not a good friend. Because I wouldn't do that to you.
Goons. Bro, I wanted to jump. I'm like, nah, this is not my fight. I was like, this is not my fight, man.
Dark horse.
Let the Chelsea boys have it. The first thing I clicked, because literally I saw the amount of quotes. Guess the first person I saw in there was Adams. It was his name that popped up.
Adams has been looking to cook me since I told him Noni has scored his last goal of the season.
Adams was the first one in there. Adams brought that hammock that you used to sit down and waiting outside. He mounted it and sat down, crossed his leg. Was drinking Ribena. Hi. Nah, that was you spoke way too quickly.
I mean, but can you blame me though?
No, I can't. It's one.
Like
especially after their last game against Chelsea,
right?
And you're like, okay, yeah.
And also, especially after our last game against United, I'm like, bro, if I get to the point as a fan where I can't be confident 2-0 up against Brighton, then end me. If I could go back in time, I'll tweet it again. I would tweet. You should be confident if your team is 2-0 up against Brighton. You should be. And if you're not, then that tells you where your team is at. That answers every question that you have. But to be fair, it's one of those results that I hope doesn't come to bite us back. But I think one thing that confirms, and a lot of the results early in this season, one thing it absolutely confirms is we're a top 4 side, bro, and that's the absolute ceiling of this team. So that's just where we are. So we're not really going to touch on Villa United. We already said, absolutely disgusting game. I want us to close on two things, right? And just usually Pies would do the questions. I think for us, we could just do our picks. Who do you guys think deserved? I think Player of the Month went to Gravenberch, if I'm not mistaken.
Have they
That
given
was,
it?
Oh, he did.
They haven't
I
given
think
it yet.
it had, or they haven't. I thought I could have
Yes,
sworn,
they have
unless.
the nominations.
Okay, so I know Gravenberch was one of the nominations. Of course, I'm sure guys like Cole Palmer will be in
Yeah, they
there.
haven't given it yet.
Guys like
Yes.
Saka would be in there as well.
But
Gabriel.
there's no Saka in
It's
it.
Gabriel.
Oh,
Gabriel.
Gabriel. Okay, I see. Watkins. So who do you guys think? So two questions. Who do you guys think is the player of the month? Who do you think deserves the award? And two, who do you guys think has been the signing of the season so far? It's kind of been very odd because the summer was very, very slow. There weren't that many signings. I know who mine is, but who do you guys think has been the player of the month, and who do you think has been the signing of the season?
You guys
Starting
know.
from you, Adams.
You guys know what I'm about to say. It's definitely Cole, man. That performance, man, against Brighton. Come on, man. Look, we're probably never gonna see that all season. He takes it for me. A close shout is Gabriel. I think he had really big performances in crucial games, and it is really difficult or hard to see center backs, win awards like that. So if he wins it, I won't complain too much. So it's either him or Cole Palmer for me.
But you're going Cole.
Yeah, Cole.
So who's been your signing of the season?
Signing, I haven't really paid attention to a lot of signings.
Brighton have a lot of candidates, in my
Bro,
opinion.
I don't care about
Leicester City with Buonanotte. That guy's been a
Look at the
revelation.
names. Look at the names we're calling for sign of the season.
I mean, we're football men now. We pay attention.
I don't know, man. I don't think
Um,
I have any. Last season, we're talking about guys like Cole Palmer, talking about Rice. Bro, what's going on?
Big
Yeah,
Dom.
the signing.
Oh
This is
yeah. I think Big Dom,
Wait,
Big Dom for
between
this.
Big Dom and Havertz. Who has more goals?
I think Havertz still hasn't beat.
Oh,
Because remember when I made the bet, Havertz was already 2 goals up. But since then they've scored the same amount of goals. So,
okay, they are level. Okay.
but right now Havertz is up by 2 goals, I believe, because he already had a 2 goal lead at the time.
I say you already had it to go.
No, he did. But when I made the bet, I was saying even with the 2 goal lead, we're catching him and we're passing him.
That's a very bold. Well, it's not that
It's
bold.
not. It's not that bold.
It's
Yeah.
not that bold because you guys.
I was looking at a list.
Goals.
Big Dom is top 10 in the league in goal involvements in the last 2 seasons. So it's not that bold.
It's not.
And
Not
if you see the assist he got against to Brendan Johnson, like he's going to be involved in the attack for sure. But for me, player of the month, I was going to say Gravenberch, but honestly, I think I agree with you, Adams. I think it has to be Gabriel because I think when you think of like degree of difficulty, the position that he plays, the responsibility that he has defending, and then him being the deciding factor in back-to-back games, back-to-back away, extremely difficult games, the most difficult circumstances when you have all these injuries and you're missing your captain and you're expected to go for the league. To me, absolutely, I've done my cap. And honestly, as the number one Gabriel enjoyer since this whole Gabriel Saliba partnership thing became a thing, gotta back the boy. So I'm saying Gabriel, and of course, Big Dome signing of the season, of course. Choose.
Yeah, for me, I mean it's obvious. I like Obama though, but 2 away grounds, big goals. And I think I was reading somewhere he's had the most shots with his head from a defender in the month of September. So yeah, like he has to defend, win duels, and still he's giving you goal contributions. Scored more goals than his same namesake on the same team. But again, that's neither here nor there. it has to be Gabby for me. Sign of the season, I don't know. Nobody, someone has caught my attention. I feel like if I say the name, I might get sorted for it. But I like what I'm seeing from Sancho. Just the little sample size I've seen. He looks so different in that
Yeah.
Chelsea jersey.
Yeah.
And like
He's
you
been
guys are
taking.
actually playing him. You guys are actually playing him to his strengths.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw our boy Ola. Ola got
Oh yeah.
Ola got cooked.
I can't wait for the only Nige episode where they make up a new injury to
I
defend
can't,
that
I
guy.
can't wait for what Pius will say. Adams, your boy Ola was
Whatever
twerking. He was
whatever
twerking
injury he
when he
cooks
met
up,
Sancho.
whatever injury he cooks up, we're not
Nah,
we're not
that's
having it. He got absolutely roasted.
that
And
was a good matchup, man. That was a good matchup.
he got roasted. Yeah, for me, I
But
was
is it fair to say I think Sancho's the best left winger at that club?
Oh
yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
easily.
We don't have a lot of competition though, do we?
I
I mean,
mean,
isn't
even if
isn't
you don't,
Neto isn't Neto there as well? I
No,
would have
Neto is
expected
right
Neto.
wing.
Neto
Neto
wing,
is right
okay.
wing.
right. Yeah, for me, I'll go Sancho.
You know
The
what?
guy,
Yeah, I changed my answer to Sancho too.
You're so easy. Adams is so easy. Adams is the easiest. Adams, you just need
because
to buy him
to be
one
honest,
drink. Let's see,
I
you
feel
can
like
carry him home.
Solanke is just too obvious, and he hasn't made
I've
an
liked
impact.
Brennan Note. I don't know why nobody is even giving him a
No,
shot.
yeah, he's looked good. He's looked good.
But
Even
even
even even even at Brighton,
Morgan
guys.
Rogers too.
No, no,
Did they
he
just
he came he came in January. He came in
oh yeah
January
in
last year.
January?
But even in Brighton, bro, Jorginho Ruta, bro, that guy has been on
Yeah,
smoke.
those Brighton guys, they don't stay there long. We're about to sell him now next year. I beg.
Yeah, no, for sure. But he's been wonderful as well. Jorginho Ruta, Bernanote. I think a lot of these small teams have made some very, very clever signings. I see I randomly saw Chidozie Ogbene in
Yeah, the Ipswich.
Yeah,
The
Ipswich,
Ipswich.
Ipswich.
let's end the episode. I'm starting to say some names that will make
Yeah,
Pius
it's going to be
smile.
like Pius, man. Pius Spirit
I've
is
entered. This
going.
is the Pius zone of the podcast. Some of the names I've just said in the last 2 minutes can get me cancelled. But yeah, listen, absolutely wonderful episode. Very, very painful international break for me, but we move. Hopefully, we keep getting this level of competition all season. It's been absolutely fun to see everybody smiling, everybody happy and having expectations for their team for the first time in a long time. We love to see it. I know people that have been subscribed to this pod, they've never seen Adams like this. You've never seen the Adams when Chelsea
Yo.
are good. But welcome to the experience. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the usual. We appreciate all the interactions. We appreciate all the arguments. Of course, that keeps us, talking about these things. And see you guys in 2 weeks. I don't know if we're gonna have a
Now
international break
we should do
episode.
the preview
Yeah,
show.
we have a preview for
Yeah.
Oh, right. So
sure.
look out for the preview show, international break for this. I'm gonna call this the football fan zone derby.
Oh yeah.
Liverpool versus Chelsea is the true rivalry of football
It's
fan
something
zone.
tasty.
The original co-hosts going at it. They never argue, but if you want to see Pius and Adams in an intense argument, tune into the next episode. Can't wait. I can't wait. But yeah, signing off on that note.
All right, peace.